So this is day 4, and I made the summit. I made it to the top of Kilimanjaro. I don't know how. I've literally been pushed harder than I could ever have imagined. I'm absolutely just exhausted right now. It has just been one of the best experiences of my life, but also one of the worst. I'm just so... I can hardly even speak. I'm that tired. Words can hardly even begin to explain how fucking tough it was to get there. I think if someone had told me just how hard it was beforehand, if I could have known, I don't know that I would have done it. So, well, I'll explain, I guess, in full. So actually, the journey to the summit began last night, up at the base camp, which is the Kibu huts, which is where I made my last diary entry. We had dinner and then headed to bed at about kind of 6 o'clock. I didn't really sleep at all. What with the altitude there, I just found it was a real kind of restless sleep. I maybe got like an hour or something like that, and that's it. Then we were up at 11 o'clock at night to begin our attempt to reach the summit. It took... what time did I get there? I think I got there about 6:30, maybe 7. So it took me like 8 hours. It was freezing cold. It was just me and the guide, which was so hard because, yeah, he kept me safe and showed me the way, but that was it. No kind of conversation or encouragement, and there were just so many times when I just thought, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna reach this goal? And to be honest, I don't even know how I did manage to do it. It all started off okay. The first kind of hour was pretty steady paced, and I really started to think, it's gonna be fine. We're really gonna do this. But after about an hour, we kind of started on kind of like a rocky kind of ground. You could really get your footing, fine, and everything was okay there. And then we then got onto this kind of terrain, which was, I think it's from like the volcanic ash from back when Kilimanjaro, was still an active volcano, but it's kind of really loose, kind of volcanic soil and ash. The only thing I can relate it to is if you've ever tried to climb up a sand dune, it was like that. So you'd kind of put your foot and it would kind of sink, so you'd have to use all of your muscle then from your other leg to kind of get your footing again, and it was just absolutely just exhausting. And we kind of zigzagged up then the kind of face of the one side of the mountain through this kind of volcanic ash and snow, so it was really slippy. Zigzagged up that to get to Gilman's Point, and that took us 5 hours. And I can't begin to explain just how tiring it was. My muscles were absolutely killing me. Plus, with getting higher, the altitude was just making it really hard for me to breathe. I think the only things really that kept me going was, one, I had my iPod, so I listened to quite a lot of dance music to keep kind of going. 2, I really thought about my dad a lot because it's always been his dream to climb Kilimanjaro. But when we did the Himalayas a few months ago, he kind of struggled at you know, at a much less altitude. So to be honest, I really don't see that, unfortunately, that he's gonna make it up this one anytime soon. Um, and boy, was it a struggle for me. Um, so yeah, so we had those kind of few hours as we went up the face of the mountain, but and it seemed like this Gilman's Point was just never ever gonna we was never ever gonna get there. And as we got higher and higher, it was really bloody sheer, like. And we were trekking in the dark, which I think kind of actually does make it worse because you can't fully see exactly what the drop's going to be. But there were times when we were kind of, really on kind of sheer parts where if you fell, I mean, I don't think it would have killed you, but you would have gone tumbling down the bloody side of the mountain. Um, and with the snow, with it being so slippy, I had no idea it was actually going to be that treacherous. So I kind of really started to panic, and that was, of those that kind of 5 hours to get up to Gilman's, I'd say the last 2 hours was pretty much a treacherous stage. So on top of the exhaustion, my legs, you know, not keeping up, not being able to breathe very well because of the altitude, taking it really slow. But on top of all that, I then had the fear of that, I was gonna bloody fall at some point because the altitude was really getting me at that point, where it kind of sends you off balance at times. And there were quite a few times when I kind of missed my footing, and if I hadn't kind of regained the balance, I quite, I easily would have actually tumbled down. So it was pretty fucking scary stuff, to be honest. Um, I was glad then when we reached the kind of top of that ridge to this kind of Gilman's Point, and then from there it's another 2 hours to actually get to the summit of Kilimanjaro, which is then kind of along the top of the mountain, along like this ridge, which was even more treacherous. I mean, this had sheer drops that would have killed you, and at this stage the altitude really got to me in ways that I've not experienced before. Pounding headache, which is kind of standard, but it was really throwing my balance, and there were times when I was really kind of clinging to some of the rocks because I thought I was going to fall. To be honest, I didn't think the guide was really that good at kind of looking out for me, and there was many times when I really just lost hope because there was no one else to support me or encourage me. It was bloody emotional. I nearly burst into tears several times. I nearly told him to turn around several times, but once we'd got to that Gilman's Point, you could actually see the head torches of some other people that had made the summit already, and so I could see the goal, and it was still another 2 hours to go, but I kept going and kept going. Plenty of energy bars and sweets and things like that to keep me going too. And we got maybe kind of halfway then to the summit, and that's when the sun started to rise. And it's just, at that moment, of course, it was all worth it. It felt like I was just on top of the world. And that's always going to stay with me as one of the best experiences of my life. I think it's in terms of scenery, it's the best thing that I've ever seen. We were surrounded by glaciers and ice formations, with kind of the cloud then sitting on top of the other distant mountains, and then the sunrise coming out above that. And it really was just words won't describe. So it was worth it to see that, and I did finally then make it actually to the summit. But I was just so exhausted by that point. It was almost like you couldn't enjoy it, and the altitude had really got to me to the point that it was really kind of messing with my head. Didn't really kind of feel myself. So that kind of frightened me a little bit. So we didn't spend much time, the summit. Literally a couple of minutes for some photos, and then we headed down. But the thing is, once I'd reached that goal, it was like I just gave up, and I had no energy, and I was kind of off balance, stumbling. At one point, when we'd got back then to Gilman's Point, we took a rest, and I literally just collapsed into the snow, and I just lay on the ground, and started to cry, and I just said to the guide innocent, I said, oh, I can't do it. I just can't do it. But, obviously I had to pick myself up, and down we went. And I was so looking forward, to actually then getting back to the base camp and just having time to rest. And then when we actually finally got down, we were the last down. Well, actually, there was only me and one of the American guys from our camp that actually made the summit. The other group of the university students, none of them made it. They all turned back at different points. But by the time I got to base camp, everyone had already left to go down to the one below. But I was that exhausted that, I said to the guide, look, I'm going to have a few hours sleep. And then that's when it hit me. I lay down in bed, and something didn't feel right in my head, which I'd already experienced up at the top. But then all of a sudden, it's really hard to explain, but just, it felt like something was fuzzy, like in my head. And I tried to get out of bed, and I stumbled and fell. And when I tried to walk, I was wobbly and all over the place. I then went to find the guide and try and talk, and I couldn't talk properly. So what I had was some kind of onset of real kind of altitude sickness, where I think it's like excess water on your brain or something like that, which if you don't get down in altitude, it's goddamn serious. So I well and truly freaked out, because I just can't describe how it made me feel, but it was really, really horrible, really scary. So we literally grabbed all my things, and we had to get me down like ASAP. So then we had to trek like another kind of 3 hours down to the camp that I'm at now. And because we're much lower down in altitude, it's mainly cleared now. I feel myself again. I've still got a bit of a fuzzy head and a headache, but most of it I think is just exhaustion. So there you go. It's been an absolute roller coaster, really up and down. But yeah, I made it to the tallest mountain in Africa, and it's the tallest standalone mountain in the world, tallest volcano in the world, and I made it to the top. Something that I always wanted to achieve, and I wanted to do it for my dad as well. It's been an incredible experience. I don't know that I'd ever advise anyone to do it alone like I have. That's made it even tougher. But yeah, I'm just gonna get some rest and get some sleep, and yeah, maybe catch you tomorrow. Alright, bye.